Hopefully it doesn't take up all the space on my computer and it'll be fine. Okay. So let's see. So, basically what we're going to do, and best way to go about this, because we're going to be going over how to get over art block, because art block is the worst, and we all hate art block. And, I mean, this works for, like, writing as well. I don't think it works quite as well for G-posing, just because G-posing is so much of, or videos, because that's so much planning. So, sorry, Kira, but just, like, you know, writing or... yeah, no, writing or, you know, whatever. But basically, it's really not difficult, but I feel like people don't believe me. So, basically what you have to do is not think about it. And I know that sounds really dumb and really difficult for artists, and it is, but once you figure out how to do it, it makes your life a lot easier. So, the way that I go about it, especially when I am lazy and don't feel like doing a warm-up, we're going to do a warm-up today, though, because, this is a class and that's what we do. So we're going to do a warm-up where I'm going to literally flip through some of these poses. We're going to spend 3 minutes on each, and you're going to have to try real hard to just not think about it. So basically, the way that I learned it is when you're doing form drawing, whatever you want to call it, whenever you're drawing that, the biggest thing to look for is shapes. So just like as an example, like if I were to be doing that on this, I would you choose the worst times to bark. I'm going to be looking at like the shape. So we've got a pose that I just picked here on the right. And the best way to just go about it is like, okay, head, shoulders come up here, neck is somewhere in there. I'm like looking at the pose even more so than I'm looking at like my actual like drawing tablet. Then let's see, I see the knee and the foot right here. That's going to be a little bit off, which is fine. And then we're going to do the hands. Hands. Arm comes down. And then we know we have the hips back here somewhere where he's slouching. Hands, arm, blah, 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 blah. And then you don't really see any of that because it doesn't show us any of that. So, and then the other knee. So, like, literally that took me, like, what, 30 seconds? And that's like the basic shape that you have right there. And again, is it all correct? No, it's not. But it doesn't really matter. Those are generally, they do what they call 30-second motion sketches, which, okay, in a real artistic college professional setting, they would have you be drawing nudes. We're obviously not doing that today because we don't fucking have nudes here. So, instead, we're just going to do the pose thing, which if you're all interested in what this site is, I will send it later, but it's basically just random generator. So if I just want to go to the next one, boop, I just go to the next one, and then we have another pose, and then, you know, you scribble and do that one next. So, easiest thing to do when it comes to these, though, to start with is, like, her, for example, is pretty obvious with, like, motion is kind of like, oh my god, I didn't put it up at all. Motion is kind of like that. You can kind of see it. If I were to take this picture and I were to put it in, you could see this is kind of the motion. She's got her head. I actually don't know if you guys can even see my mouse, but you could see her head is tilted to the left, and then her body kind of squiggles to the right, and then it goes back to the left where her hip is. And that's kind of the motion of the picture. That's what you want to be focused on most rather than details. And I know details are one of those things that people always have a problem getting really focused on. Like a lot of times they'll do a thing that is toxic and don't do it, is they'll zoom in. Oops. God damn it. Clip is so bad about that. So they'll do this thing where they zoom in real far and then they go, okay, I'm going to work on the eye first. And then they work on the eye first. And then they just keep getting closer. And they keep getting closer. And then they scroll over here, and then they do the eye over here. And then when you zoom out, nothing looks right because you've been zoomed in for so long. Whereas you have to, I honestly, personally, stay zoomed out most of the time until I work on details. So a lot of times, like, I'll get probably about this close to it, and then I'll be like, okay, well, that makes the eyes look semi-even. There's the eyebrows, so they look semi-even. Hello. There's the nose, and then, like, there's the mouth. Okay, now everything looks kind of even because I was zoomed out that whole time. You know what I mean? So, like, it's if anything ever looks off and you always go, why doesn't my anatomy look right? Nothing ever looks right. It's because you're zoomed in too long, I guarantee it. So, let's give this a shot then. I'm just kind of curious as to who joined. Oh my god, fear. No fear. No fear. Hi, Camis. Camis, I don't know. How goes it? Yeah, it's well, because are you in France?
Yeah.
So what time is it for you?
It's almost midnight, like in an hour.
I was gonna say you guys are like 6 hours ahead, I think. Well, England is, I know for sure. That's why I was asking. France is like a state's away from that, so you guys are probably pretty close.
Yeah, exactly. It's like 1 hour.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. All right, Eepy, you're the only one. It's all on you. It's all about you, girl. On your 16th birthday. Okay, so I'm going to set a timer for 3 minutes. We're literally just going to go through this pose that I have up here. I can make it bigger if you prefer. I just left it kind of off to the side so that you could kind of see what I'm doing as well. If it's too small, just tell me and I'll fix it. But yeah, so we're just going to go in with this first pose. And let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. OBS. Unlock, please. Unlock, please. Thank you. Make bigger. Stupid the way that they have it set up. Okay. Anyways, so hopefully that's big enough. And then we'll give it a shot, and I will start a timer for 3 minutes. You're free. Oh God, as I fall off the fucking talk button. You're free to start a timer for yourself as well. We're gonna do 3 minutes. Are you ready? All right, let's do this. Ready, set, start. One of the other biggest things that I learned about form drawing in general is don't erase. Just don't even waste the time erasing. It is a waste of time, and you don't need it. And it's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. We don't want it to be. We just want to get the general vibe of it. Which again, liquefy, great for that. Moving it around, fantastic. Just don't worry about erasing. And if she's wearing clothes, you don't really need to worry about the clothes. Just worry about the form. Can add the clothes if you want to, just don't worry about it too hard. Five seconds left. Done. Okay, so all you really want to get from doing this, especially as a warm-up, is just shape, getting your hand all warmed up, and then just don't think about it anymore. Doesn't need to be perfect. Shove it to the side. Don't think about it. Moving on. Okay, let's generate a new pose. We'll keep doing some warm-ups for a little while. Next. Same lady, apparently. Alright, EP, are you ready? Do some of this. Alright, and can we restart this, please? Restart, thank you. Dismiss, thank you. Okay, and start. This lady has like no tibbies, just saying. Negative in the tibby area. Something I have seen other people do, and I have done on occasion when it's like a really, really complicated pose and my brain doesn't feel like braining with the anatomy, is, if it's like, say, a fight pose, just as an example, a lot of times people will do, I'm just going to get these really quick. Feel free to keep going. You don't need to watch, just listen to me. But some people will do silhouette painting. So you basically, just paint as like a giant silhouette is essentially the way that people will go about it. And then you don't need to worry about any of the details. You just focus on how the form looks. And this is a lot more of just like erasing and like drawing bigger shapes that you see rather than like worrying so much about the anatomy, if that makes sense. So sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. This is an awkward pose for, for silhouette posing because it's very just straight up and down, and she's got a lot of like her whole dress is very just straight, so it's not very good for that. This is a bad example for it, but basically point just stands. If it's easier for you to think about it that way, then you don't need to, and timer's done. You don't need to worry so much about, you can only worry about the shape then. You don't need to worry about the other things. Anyway, hello to whoever just joined. Hey Gab. Okay. Hi. All right, moving on. Hi Rui. How's everybody doing? We are doing some exercises right now. If you guys want to join, it's just some warm-ups and stuff. If people have been warming up already, then don't worry about it. Otherwise, you're free to join. We're just doing... Say what?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Sorry.
The best thing to do, that's all I was saying, really. This is pretty much all everybody missed, is just don't think about it too hard. Don't think about the work that you've done. Make it smaller on your canvas, scoot it away, move on, flip the sketch page, whatever you're using, it doesn't matter. Yeah, like right now, I'm just going to get rid of these and scoot them over a little bit more so I don't have to... Nope, it is all warm-up, baby. Okay, We're going to do like two or three more, and they'll, again, 3 minutes each. When people start getting more comfortable, we can do them for like a minute each if you guys want, if you guys don't really care about this too much. And then we'll move on to our references that I asked you guys to all get. So, who's ever working on it, references. And I've got a few for different things. Something with those references to consider, which again, I didn't add this because it doesn't fully matter. A lot of times I personally just flip through Pinterest until I find something that interests me, and then I go, oh my god, I could totally see Emmett Nazem doing this thing, and then I do that. Or I try like 7 different things until I'm satisfied with something. So if you guys just picked things that you liked on specific pieces, going for an entire piece is like really daunting. So if I picked like Star Ember's art, who's an artist I really like, she does this like detailed, ridiculous background. Everything is perfect and beautiful. And if I pick something like that, it's a little too daunting for me, and it's going to feel that way, especially if you're not trying to just get like the feeling of color. So a lot of times especially when you're in art block, which is it's all about overcoming art block, you pick one thing. Like, okay, I really like how this artist did these hands. I'm going to copy how they did these hands. Don't worry too much about it has to be your own or original or anything like that, because that just makes the art block worse, is when you feel like you have to be original. Everything is just about kind of, putting grease on the wheels to get them going again, essentially, to just get it unstuck. Because a lot of times people get real stuck in this, like, I have to create a masterpiece, everything has to be perfect. But if you just kind of do exercises like the one that we're doing right now and the one we're going to do afterwards, it tends to just unstick your brain and just kind of go, okay, I still have the capability to draw. It doesn't matter. None of these are supposed to be good. So that's okay. I'm okay to just not look good. Everything can be bad for now, and that's okay, because it just means that you're learning. And if you're really interested in something, add that into the mixing pot and just be like, okay, for example, the largest art jump that I ever had, okay, where I went from like, wow, I suck, to, wow, I've been working at this every day. I got really fucking obsessed with a specific samurai, and I made an entire story surrounding that. I have like 20 sketchbooks upstairs, and every single one of them was filled like one. I was literally filling like an entire sketchbook once a month, because I just like kept going and couldn't stop. Like, once that inspiration comes back to you, then the pictures will start to flow again. But for the moment, it's just getting your brain unstuck from that I can't do anything mentality, which is what art block basically is. So if you just do this, it upgrades your skills because you're working at it, but it's not so serious that it's making you go like, oh, this has to be a perfect masterpiece. So it's kind of unsticking you to begin with, if that makes sense. So I'll stop talking now. Let's do another one. Let me go to the next one. Can you guys still see that? Okay, cool. We got some bald lady in a dress doing stuff. Okay, cool. Everybody ready? Whoever's joining, or, whatever. We're going to do 3 minutes. Just don't think about it too hard. Don't think about it. Don't get too sucked into these pearls. Don't get too sucked into the dress. Make it a triangle, and then make a little circle for the foot. Don't think about it too hard. Okie dokie. Everybody ready? 3, 2, 1, start. It's 100% okay to be wrong. Failing is just learning. So for anybody who's a perfectionist, stop that. Get some help. Actually, I lied. I'm the help. And when I say don't want to think about it, don't think about it. And if you hate it, don't worry about it, because it'll be over in a minute and a half. And it's one of those trust the process things. Even if you feel like it's not starting off well, that's okay, because the more you work on it, the better it'll get. So you can just ignore that little part of your brain that says, hey, this is bad, because you can go, yeah, duh, I'm not done with it yet. Just little things to remember that will eventually help. Okay, 15 seconds. Okay, all done. All right, how does everybody feel? Nice and warmed up? Yay, nay? Everybody feel warmed up? Should we do more? What do you guys think? How are you feeling? Questions, concerns? Raise of hands? All good? Okay. You guys were the people who were quiet in class, weren't you? Never asked a question because you were scared of being wrong, huh? I'll take that as a yes. Okay, moving on. Yep. Okay, this is a safe space. Don't worry about it.
I was
Nothing.
about to say that this position of this lady is kind of tricky.
Yeah,
Also.
it's awkward.
Just because the position of her head is too much close to her shoulder.
Mm-hmm. It's awkward. It's awkward as heck.
Yeah, it is, but just practice anyway.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, and that's why a lot of times when, like, you could tell in this last one, was not looking at my model as much as I should have been. A lot of times they say you should be looking at your model 70% of the time and your actual canvas only 30% of the time. So you're really looking at the model, like, more often than not. It also, flicking your eyes back and forth does the same, it gives you the same feeling as this, doing the back and forth thing this way, of flipping your canvas, which, you know, every artist says, and then they go, I don't actually know why I'm doing that. It's to see awkward anatomy, because you can tell when you look at it backwards. It's like, have you guys ever seen those TikToks where you see the people who do the face thing where, like, it shows their face and then they flip the canvas and their face looks completely off because they're not symmetrical? It's the same thing. You can tell. You can totally tell, for just anybody who didn't know why you flipped the canvas and just did it because art videos said to. Okie doke. Moving on, let's get our reference pictures. Pick whichever one you guys want. Doesn't matter to me what you choose. If you guys are doing color, just tell me what everybody's working on so that I can better give some advice on it. If you guys all want to, you can send your reference pictures to General or to Pictomancer Art, and I will look at them there. And then I can better assess what we're doing, because let's see. I just tried to click that on my computer. That doesn't work. I grabbed a few. I grabbed one reference picture that's all about motion. I can get rid of this pose thing now.
Ooh, can I see it?
Yeah. Make it bigger for you. Which is what I was mentioning earlier about the feeling of stuff. I'm not going to copy this all word for word. I just picked this one because honestly it was like the first one on my Pinterest that had mentioned motion, so I just figured I would use this as an example. This is obviously a lot more advanced version of that, but like you wanna, when I was talking about motion, motion is so important because you can have a really simplistic art style. You can have a really simplistic art style. You don't need, like this person, clearly the stuff that they do is really detailed, okay? You'll get there. You don't need to worry about that right now. The way that this person does movement is they tend to do a lot of this, like, they tend to think about it in a curling motion a lot of times. So, another really good way that you can practice this type of stuff without having to understand all this curly nonsense that I just used on my reference picture. Please get out of here. Please get smaller. Is something that I have seen people do before is they will take some brush and they'll take random colors and they'll fill their canvas with like random shapes like this. And they don't, the shape does not matter. The shape can just be whatever you want it to be. It can be a noodly, blobby shape. It doesn't matter. Then you'll make a new layer, and then you have to think of a pose that will go into this space. So if I saw this space, I would maybe draw somebody like this who's like, I don't know, maybe her arm is up here and it's over her head and she's just vibing. And it doesn't really matter. We're going to pop the booty right there just because why not? It's just to fit it into this space. So it doesn't matter how weird it looks. If the anatomy is right, then great, you did it right. So like some people do exercises like that, which really helps with this feeling of motion a lot of times, because like for this, for example, you have this feeling of motion in it a little bit. In this picture that I have as reference, obviously this is quite an advanced version of motion. It shows like basically everything that is, motion is so hard, but motion is one of those things that once you understand it, it makes your pictures a lot more dynamic. So, you know, lessons just keep in mind. And then, you know, we can always go over more of it later if anybody enjoyed that part of it. You know, I'm just going over general, you know, how-to of stuff. Hey, we're at about 4:30. I was pretty right with my timing. All right, so everybody pick a reference picture. Again, feel free to post it in PictoChat. Otherwise, don't worry about it. Just give me an idea of what I'm working with. If we're doing color, if we're doing the motion, if we're doing just a pose that you liked, whatever you guys picked for your homework, you know, we'll work on that. I picked a few separate ones. I picked that one, and then I picked like, you know, I want to work on this bird with wings because wings are hard and color is hard and understanding wings is hard. I also just picked a very generic color one. Now, if you wanted to practice something like this, oh my god, this is so hard to grab on the iPad.
Is that how hard is to draw wings?
Yeah, wings are
So
a pain.
I have to go. I just came to see a bit of the lesson. So
Yeah. Go.
it's
Thanks for
it's
joining. Thanks for joining.
just a short time, but I have to go and take care of my kitty. So
Go do. I'm recording it anyway and I'll post it on YouTube. So if you miss anything or if you want to watch it, don't worry about it.
okay, all right. See ya.
Bye.
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 Okay, color practice. So if you guys wanted to just, you saw like this I just used because again it just kind of singles out like the braid, for example. And if you look at this real close, you can tell this isn't very detailed, but when you zoom out, it looks detailed and it looks very full. So the best way that I would suggest doing this, if you just had somebody's head and you were just practicing on the braid itself, again, don't worry about the characters. The characters don't matter. We'll worry about that next. But for now, just worry about the practice. You picked your homework out like I asked, and this is our homework right now. This is just the one that I'm using as an example. So the way that I would go about this is I would suggest, again, don't think about it too hard. Say you want, we're just going to do the exact same position as this braid, which is just a little curve, right? And then you say, okay, I can see that they're made of a lot of these like diamond shapes. So I'm literally just going to stack these diamond shapes that get a little smaller every time. Just a little smaller every time. Don't worry about all the extra stuff that's in there. Just worry about the main shape of it. And the main shape of it, I can actually just do this to show you guys what I mean. If I were to take that, stop it. Do not. Son of a biscuit. God, Clip Studio is really annoying on the iPad. Okay, so what I'm talking about, and I should have done this from the beginning, is this shape right here. See how these are all just like generic diamonds? That's just what we're doing for my personal reference. But again, think of your own references. You guys don't have to follow the one that I'm doing. I just pick some random ones. And then even down here, rather than diamonds, they're kind of starting to do this like this boxy kind of shape. So it goes from diamonds to boxes. Again, don't need to worry about that, just when you're looking at your reference, things to consider. So it's not going to be the same every time. Just think of what the biggest box is. So once you do that, I'll make this bigger again. The way that they seem to have this, I'll turn that off actually for now. So the way that they seem to have this, again, you can just color pick these because we're just using it for practice. Nobody's claiming that like, oh, this is my own yada, yada, yada. How the heck do I color pick on Clip Studio? Okay, so I'm just going to use this for now. I tend to just use a darker color, which seems to be the mid-tone, just for now. Howdy, howdy, for whoever just joined, by the way. So we're going to do that. I actually want it to be a little bit dark. What's going on? Let's see, we're going to do this one actually, because I like this one better. Okay, that really blends in with my background. I'm going to just fix that right quick. Don't mind me. I tend to just go with dark backgrounds because my eyeballs don't burn as much then. Anyway, so then they seem to do this gradient on the bottom, which you can start with the gradient or you can add it at the end. It doesn't really matter because, again, we're just kind of practicing color. So I generally would say if you are using a reference hardcore, to not color pick and try to figure out the colors yourself. So if I see like this like lighter color, for example, or I see the darker color, lad, please, for the love of God, I am not going to color pick that. I am going to just do it myself. So like a lot of times, let me see, I'm going to just use a square brush again. So a lot of times if I'm trying to get a specific color and I see like this orangey kind of color, I'll go, okay, that looks like that's a little bit closer to orange and maybe even a little bit of brown. And then I'll add that. Yeah, that looks like kind of right. I could probably go a little bit lighter. So it's kind of just like a guessing game. And again, stay zoomed out. I obviously can't see your guys' screens, but if I could, I would slap your wrists if you're zooming in too much, because zooming in too much is going to ruin you. I guarantee it's going to ruin you, okay? So when you're zoomed in, again, when you're working on detail, that's different, but that's after we've already fleshed out all of the motion and all of the head angles and all that other fun stuff. So you don't need to be concerned about being wrong at that point. So like if I had like an eye, for example, I know I'm jumping all over the place, I apologize. But like if I had an eye, for example, and I had already drawn this like general shape, right? And I had just drawn this very generic shape, right? Okay. I did that all while I was completely zoomed out. So you can see that it's like more or less in, you know, how it's supposed to be. Now, because I know what the shape is supposed to be, I can worry about zooming in and adding all like the eyelashes and the waterline and all that other fun stuff because I already know where everything is. So I don't need to be as concerned about the anatomy of it because guess what? I already did that. And then you zoom out and wow, okay, that looks great. Now I gotta go and clean some stuff up because close in it looked good and now zoomed out it looks bad. So you kind of always have to be jumping from back and forth, okay? All right, let's see. So now that we've gotten this, I'm going to try and look for kind of a, oops, that's the wrong one. I'm going to kind of look for like a mid-tone on this, which is a little bit more of a yellowy. It's a little bit closer to the lightest color, but they seem to be kind of desaturated. So I'm going to take this. Dog, please stop barking. Sorry, on Clip I kind of haven't, it needs to be lighter. I haven't really found brushes that I quite like yet, which is another point I'm going to make later, is about brushes and how brushes really do affect how well you draw. And it's not that it helps you draw well, but something that clicks with you does tend to feel more comfortable than something that is not. That sounds really weird when I said it that way. That's not quite what I meant. What I meant was when you have brushes that don't jive with you and they won't get you the style that you want, you're going to struggle to get them to look the way that you want to, right? So when if you're trying to get this kind of a brush style and you're working with a brush that looks like this, I didn't make that big enough to make my point, and you're working with a brush that looks like this, you're not going to be able to replicate it. And so you're going to get frustrated when it comes to your style, right? Because you're going to be like, why can't I make it look like that one artist? Oh my God, I fucking hate when you do that. Why can't I get my art to look like this one artist that I really like? Well, I guarantee it's probably because of the brushes that you're using. So always be willing to try new brushes. One will eventually just click for you and you'll be great. When I really hated digital art until I figured out, actually, hold on, I have Procreate up as well because I know a lot of people use Procreate as well. I have a brush on Procreate, which is this one right here. That just personally for me just was kind of my everything brush for the most part, unless I needed something like soft. And it looks like this because it kind of has like a little bit of a pencil-y look to it. And once I made this brush, I was like, okay, this is my like forever brush because I was like whapping stuff out like I was going supersonic speed, okay? So like the brush does matter, and don't let snooty artists be like, the brush really just doesn't matter. It's all about the artist. Yeah. It can be about the artist after and when I want to try new brushes, but for the time, you want to find a brush that you really jive with. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Anyway, back to what we were doing because I'm fucking ADHD and I'm jumping all the way around. So, anyway, basically, again, as you can see already, we just have kind of like a generic shape that looks generally similar to this. I'm sure I could make certain aspects of this like slightly darker just to like make it seem a little bit more shapely. But we're not going to be too concerned about that because, again, it's just practice, so we don't really need to worry about that. So, anyways, questions, concerns? Does anybody need me to slow down or speed up or whatnots? Anything? Raise of hands? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no then. I'm going to keep moving on. Again, you can spend as long as you want on these. Trying to come up with more stuff to say, honestly, because that's kind of about all there is to it. It's just to don't be too concerned with how your reference looks. And don't be concerned about making it perfect. I cannot stress that enough. Do not be concerned with perfection. Just try and copy what it looks like. It doesn't need to be perfect. It can look bad. It's just learning. And then after you've done that for a while and you're like, okay, I don't really want to work on this anymore. I've done it to death kind of. And unless I like copied it like word for word and I'm just kind of tired of working on it, then you just don't worry about it and you just move on. So I'm just going to make this smaller and just scoot it all the way over there so I don't have to think about it anymore. And then, you can open up whatever your next one is. So whatever your next reference picture is, choose the bits that you like about it. Again, I don't personally suggest, unless like, okay, hold on. If I had a picture like this, let me just go and find one really quick. I'm just going to change this one because we're kind of done with that. Yes, you can all see my Pinterest right now. So if I saw one like this that I just really liked, that's actually not going to show up on here, is it? No. Okay, 1 second. So if I had a picture like this that I just really liked, okay, and I just went, Brambles, I just don't know what I like the best about it, though. I like the whole thing, and just like everything just feels really nice. Then we're going to just do a color splotch. So what we're going to do in this case, I'm just going to make that small so that you guys have more space to look at. So what you're going to do is you're going to take, again, whatever brush you want to. You're going to look at it. You're going to say, okay, what is the darkest tone that I see there, which is generally like kind of a blue. It's like a very light blue. This is all a very light piece. Just an example was the first thing on my pin board. So we're just going to make a square because it's a square piece. Just going to make a square, scribble it all in because we don't need to be concerned about it too much again. Just practice. perfectionists be scared. All right, so howdy. We're going to do that. Now they have a lot of orange in here, so we're just going to go, okay, this seems to be kind of roughly a similar orange, and then you're going to just start, again, you're not thinking about it too hard. You're going to go, okay, I see orange sand here. We're going to just put the orange sand there. I see the orange lady here. She's got a lot of orange on her, so we're just going to assume that she's orange for now. I am completely zoomed out. I am not thinking too hard. It seems to be a little bit lighter orange up here, so I'm going to copy that. We can always blend any of this out later if we still want to keep working on this. It's all practice. Okay, and then we're going to take that same yellow, and the yellow does go over the water a little bit, so we're just going to do that. Yada, yada, yada. This is still a little more orangey. The lady looks a little orange, so you're just going to kind of not, again, you're not thinking about any of it too hard. You're just trying to get the colors more or less correct, and you're just going to kind of like do it zoomed out and not think too hard about the details. I know I've said it 1,000 times, and guess what? I'm going to keep blathering it because that is the most important part, is just to not think too hard about it. And then you go, okay, you know what? I just don't like this. I really don't feel like thinking about this anymore. This piece is starting to piss me off. Okay, guess what? We're just going to put it in the trash. We're just going to make it smaller in this case, and then we're just going to chuck it in the corner and not think about it. Or you can just get rid of it all completely because we're using digital art. So guess what? Nobody cares anyway. Howdy also to somebody who joined, I think. I don't know. I might have just heard Discord go off. I don't know. I'm all over the place. Okay. So, if anybody has any questions, though, I would suggest, personally, if I were you guys, I would work maybe 10 minutes on one of your practices, and then I would move on. And then I, again, wouldn't think about it. I go, okay, practice that, move on, and then don't think about it. What I did for a long time is I worked for maybe 10 to 30 minutes on one sketch. And then what I did, which is what I was going to get to earlier, is I said, okay, enough of this practice. Now, say I found like, oops, it's not on here, is it? It's on my computer. Sorry, all over the place. Say I just picked a random picture, but just say I really liked this picture, okay? And I went, oh my God, I can totally see my Asm doing this. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go, okay, I'm going to use this pose just like in my mind. You're not going to think about it too hard. And I'm going to put that over just because I generally like to sketch with it. Don't judge me. And then you're just going to sketch it. You're just going to go, okay, well, I really like the way that they do her expression in this. You know, she's really nice and soft. So I'm just going to kind of scribble all that in there. There's a nose. There's a smile. Got some hair, but we're going to fix that because, again, it's not this character. It's going to be my Asm. So we just need to take the stuff like the anatomy, yada, yada. Again, we can fix whatever we need to later. And then she's got a neck. And this one you can make a little bit more nice, but again, I would still say stay zoomed out. Don't think about it too hard. We got a shelf titties right here, so we're just going to put that there. Yes, I am literally just speaking what goes through my mind when I draw, by the way. I am just talking, so yes, this is what goes through my mind. So again, she's looking kind of down, so we're going to move some of this stuff back this way. That's too small. What is wrong with me? Gonna move some of that so it looks more like she's looking down. And again, usually the reason that artists usually get on people and go, hey, don't copy art, and it scares baby artists from learning, and copying other people's art is a valid way to practice. Now, if I were to draw this like, line for line and then said, this is mine, don't post it. But if you are drawing it for practice, I personally don't ever see the problem with being like, I did some studies of some art I found on Pinterest today. Here it is. Because people have to practice and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. And then, you can go in and then be like, okay, I've taken everything that like I want to from this. Maybe I want to add this veil to, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. That's more or less kind of the shape of it. Once you have that, then you can start going in and being like, okay, I'm going to add like my Asm's hair because I want my Asm in this because she's pretty and I love my Asm and yada, yada, yada. And oh my God, this is going to be so devastating because what if this happened in this part of the story? This is just the stuff that goes on in my mind when I'm sketching personally, is I tend to think about the reason what the character is doing in the thing that I am copying from. So in a way, again, you don't have to post those. I still don't see a problem with it if you said I was really inspired by XYZ thing and I was using it for practice and I chucked my character into it. I don't see a problem with that personally. That's just me. Like if somebody took my art, for example, and said, hey, I was really inspired by your art, but I want to see my characters in it, so I drew it like that, I'd be like, yeah, okay, that's cool. Like I don't have a problem with that. Again, that's just my personal opinion. Other people might feel differently, but I don't have any issue with that. So anyway, and then once I'm done with that, okay, I'm done now. I don't want to think about it anymore. And then I put it off to the side, and then I go back to Pinterest or wherever you have things that you like, and I just go, okay, I really like something. I want to do something a little bit more difficult. Like, oh, I really want to practice like how this skirt looks. Is that still in frame? Close enough. And then I think like, oh, like I'd really like to draw like my Azam's robes and that, right? So then you think, okay, well, she's got her legs around here, blah, blah, blah. There's a knee, there's a calf. So me to me would be like, oh, okay, I could see like, my Azam kind of like lifting her robe so that again, I'm just using my Azam as a completely random example, by the way, just because that's my personal hyperfixation. Everybody's is different and that's okay. And then like, oh, I really like how they did like, this shadow over here. So that's a pretty harsh line. And then they've got a kind of softer line here. And it seems like all the shadows are kind of like this. And then I'm going to blend it out and do that. And then that needs a little bit of blending. And, again, I'm going really fast, but you can spend like 10 to 30 minutes on each of these, I would suggest. But then once you're done with those 10 to 30 minutes, be done with it. Like, don't think of it as like, oh, well, it's not perfect. I still have stuff to do. Just put it aside. And then after you've done that, what I used to do is I would like get really hyper focused on doing this for like 2 hours, which you don't have to do 2 hours. I'm just being extreme. You do it for like 2 hours. And then when you're done with those 2 hours and you finally unshrimp yourself and you sit up, you go, okay, all right. I'm going to go back and look at what I just did, and if I like any of those, then I'll just flesh them out a little bit more. Like, I used to do this in a sketchbook, so I couldn't make it, like, digital or anything, but if I wanted to, I would have to put on different canvas, yada, yada. But we live in the digital age now, where most people do a lot of digital art, so I would then take, like, say I just really liked, like, you can go away. Say I just really liked this Azam picture, then I would just take it and I'd rather put it on a new canvas or like, get rid of everything else. And then I would just start working on it and yada, yada, yada. That's the way that I suggest doing it. And I have quite literally never had an issue getting out of art block by doing this. So the way that I think about it is you're basically going through the steps of step 1 is just to warm up. Don't think about the character, just think about the poses. Or honestly, I'm just an anatomy whore, so like if you're not and you're more of a color person, then warm up with colors. Warm up with like whatever is just going to kind of get you in the groove and get your hand in the feeling of just drawing again, because the longer you stop drawing, the harder it's going to be to get back into it. So just do something, and practicing with like the poses like I did earlier or Pinterest stuff that you find. You can skip the first posing stage if you want and just go straight to Pinterest. I just suggest the other way because it works best, but you don't have to. I would suggest going through that. It's going to be enhancing your skills, even if you don't feel like it is because you're frustrated. It will be enhancing your skills because you're practicing. Doesn't matter what you're practicing. It doesn't matter that it's perfect. You are practicing. So that's going to make you feel more confident in your skills, even if your brain doesn't want to cooperate and your brain is still saying, I feel like all of this is terrible and I hate it. It doesn't matter because you are still gaining skills. So that's going to make that art block go away quicker. And then as soon as you start working on stuff, when you're not thinking about it so in depth of like, okay, this one piece has to be a masterpiece, and you don't want to think about what the end result is the entire time you're working on it, because otherwise you're going to disappoint yourself and you're not going to come back to it. So if you go into it with the mindset of, I'm just doing these for sketches and to practice, and if I don't like it, I'm just going to move on. If you do that for like an hour or so, okay, again, I'm extreme. I was doing it every day because I had like a real bad case of the hyperfixation. You don't need to do that. Again, do like what I would say is like a page or two of like sketches worth. Just do, in general, just do a few like digital pages, just do like 6 or so sketches. If you're really not feeling it that day, just do them, put them to the side, and then come back and look at them when you're ready, and then go, you know what, I really want to flesh this one out more. You will get a lot better final products that way too, because it's basically doing thumbnails. So you're basically just getting the vibe for what you want to actually do versus what your brain is going to allow you to do. So that's what I do to pull me out of art block whenever I have it. So anyway, we've about hit the hour mark. We can keep going if you guys want to, or we can end class now that we've about hit that hour mark. But hopefully some of this has helped. And do any of my introverts who've said nothing this entire time need questions? Answers? I'm here for help whenever anybody needs it. Questions? Anything?